Now, and welcome back from 161 to 162. It's good seeing you all again. Hopefully, you know just about everybody in this class because you worked with them in groups before. And it's good to see everybody. So let's get started. Share screen. Let's go. Let's go to here. First thing is always, everybody can see the syllabus, right? I sent a copy out last week. And you look at this and go, oh my goodness, that looks almost exactly like the 161 syllabus. It is because I try to keep everything the same, as you know. Information about the course. Hang on to your copy of the syllabus. You may transfer somewhere and they'll say, well, what exactly was covered in that class? And one thing you can do is show them this page, and that's a good start for what they need to know. We meet 11 to 12:20, which is a time I thought is odd. Normally it's 12:15, but you know the way this class works, we end up working on material at the end, so it ends basically when you end. Office hours again are going to be on Calendly for those of you interested in using it, but that's a little bit of information about the class. We are meeting one day, not 2 days a week, not Monday and Wednesday. You will have a lot of out of class work, watching videos, etc., taking your first two tests outside of class. The test will be on Wednesdays, just like we did in 161, where you'll have the whole day to do that. When we're in class, hopefully you're going to find more and more it's beneficial to have your cameras on so you get to see each other, and it makes it a lot easier working together when you're in those breakout rooms. Nothing really to be hiding from anymore unless you're having a snack and eating or you're picking your nose or something. I don't know. Prerequisite course. You needed to have 161 to get into this course. 161, we did a bunch of work with algorithms, but we also covered the first 13 chapters of the C++ book. So it was a C++ course. And what we basically do is finish the book in this course. Okay, so you should all be fluent in C++. The textbooks. Do 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 do. Stop sharing. Do do do. There's me. There's there's what am I looking for? I don't know. Yeah, view. There it is. View speaker. Me. Ta-da! Same book as before. I think they just came out with a 10th edition, but it's not a hardback. But you know, I like the hardback. And like I said, we're already going to be starting in chapter 14 today. The second book you're going to use is this one. Okay. This is a little more technical, but what it does that the Gaddis book doesn't do is it gives us reasons why we are learning these new data structures. This book, you could probably almost find a PDF online because I don't know if you can see it. It is the last date that this was published. Keep moving, stop moving. 2005. So it hasn't gone to a new edition, but what's in it, I find really useful. So those are the two books that are required. The first one you already have from before. Where was it? We were looking at the syllabus, right? We were on here. Okay, so that's the two textbooks. Like I said, that second one, the Larry Nyoff book, you might find it in a PDF. You might find it really cheap online somewhere, but it's a good technical book, which is what you folks should start to ready to work on, paralleling working with the Gaddis book. Learning outcomes. These are all the data types. Someone did ask me if we're going to get into working with databases, and no, no, this is all abstract data types. Okay, and if you start to look down, we hit that big stacks, queues, trees, and graphs. We already did sorting, but now we're going to look at ways of sorting that are going to make you go, yeah, well, who, what? Okay, I never even thought about doing it this way. grading policy, it's pretty darn close to that 585 points. Now, a lot of your courses, you're looking at 1,000 points or 1,200 points or on and on and on. Well, this is your third semester programming, and it's expected that you write programs, you do tests, in class assignments. You're going to be doing some projects where I turn you loose and you're going to work as a group, a whole class as a group. And I'll be watching, and then I'll evaluate a grade on how you performed as a group in that activity. Two tests, one final exam, which is the third test. Test will be on Wednesdays. All right. You can read the syllabus. Like I said, you all should know me by now. And programs, don't send me a lump of code. As you know, write code as it works, save it. In case something happens, you want to submit something that compiles and runs. Otherwise, it just looks like hieroglyphics to me, and I don't know how to grade it. Zero tolerance policy. I had a student rip me pretty good on the end of the year evaluations because I eliminated from class several students who, in my 40th year, I feel confident that I know when there's some cheesy work going on. And now with all this AI, yeah, your work needs to be your own. And I can tell if it's your own or not. It's like reading a term paper, and all of a sudden, three students in their term paper will have the paragraph during the semester approximately exact word for word. And that's what happens a lot of times. I'm preaching to the choir. I don't expect that. I expect you to be serious, calm-sci students at this point in your career. If I catch you, you're out. It's no, well, can I get a zero for this? And well, no, that means I'm kind of allowing you to cheat until I catch you and then give you a second chance. No, got to come to class. 15%. You miss 15%, you can be withdrawn from the class. Well, we only meet 14 times. So that's like you miss two classes or three classes. I can, if I choose, to withdraw you from class. As you know, you're not going to find a lot of tutoring help for this comp sci course. You have colleagues in the course that when you need help, get to them. Email me. As you know, I'm pretty good at responding during the semester to anything you send to me. Again, this is probably the end of a lot of sophomore years. And this is the statements that we get required to include from student success on here. Read over it. Do you need help with whatever? And I get accommodation letters all the time. It is what it is. So some people are getting extra help or extra time on tests and so on. But if you have those, contact these people and then they get emails and information back to me. Okay. Any questions on that? All right. Where are we going to go next? Let's go. Oh, give me 1 second. I said do 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 do. What the heck? Do do. Oh, there we go. That's back to what I wanted. Do 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 do. Share screen. Here we go. Here we go. D2L page. Same as it ever was. Some of you, this is your third course with me. Same as it ever was. Clearly, you found the Zoom link, how to get into the course. If you ever want to contact me for an office hour, I'm going through these widgets down the right side first. Click on this link. It'll take you to Calendly. You'll see the options of when you can sign up. You click it, sends a message to my email, and we're good to go. Recording today will be under number 1, day 1. Once class is over, I'll upload it to YouTube and I'll put the link there. Being that we're meeting 1 day a week, as you know from 161, your responsibility is to watch previous classroom lectures on your time to get ready. I find students can go slower, they can go faster. It's better on their needs than to sitting just watching me lecture the whole time. So for next Monday, you will be reading number 1 and 2, or listening and watching to 1 and 2, chapter 14. Okay. For the following week, you will be doing this one, number 3, watching the video on the introduction to the list. Okay, so moving over to the left, we'll talk a little bit more about that right now. First day of class, welcome to class. I recommend you get a syllabus. It is attached down here at the bottom. Okay, this we're going to do in a minute after we get all the opening ceremonies done. Work on chapter 13 a little bit. For next week, you need to watch lecture videos 1 and 2. Now, here's the problem for next week. Next week is Martin Luther King Day, and we don't have class, but the school has class that week. So this is where the remote part clicks in. You're going to be watching these 2 videos. At the end of this second video, it's going to talk about operator overloading. So what I'm going to have you do is, and you'll see it at the end of the video, about what I expect you to go practice on your own. So instead of us meeting and being in groups and practicing it, because of the holiday, you're going to be working on that on your own. I know it stinks to start the semester off that way, but we only have 14 weeks, so we have to keep up. Okay? Coming back up to here, people like a little bit of a weekly schedule. Coming down through the third week, when we get into list, you're going to be doing a group project already. So that Monday, I'll come in and talk. We'll see if there's anything out of chapter 4 from friends and friends of classes. Classes. That's all you're going to see this semester. Everything is about classes. Okay. Hence, object oriented programming, learning new abstract data types. So that third week, which is in 2 weeks from today, we're going to be getting into it as a group. And like I said, most of you know each other from the previous class, and that's going to help. Down here, week 7, test 1, as I mentioned, that will be on the Wednesday of that week. I will have it available the entire 24 hours on that Wednesday for you to take. You will need to have the camera on, the side camera, the whole 9 yards, which is everything right now in the math department. Staying with my D2L site. Here also under content, you'll see a copy of the syllabus. You'll also see PowerPoints for GATIS. Some students like to use these as a study tool before a test. We're actually going to use the one for chapter 13 a little bit today. From the NIOF book, here's PowerPoints as well. The end of the chapter, the GATIS review questions are listed there, and solutions from the NIOF book. So I tried to give you a little bit of a plethora of resources tucked away under content to go along with the book. This was really big 10 years ago. Google now seems to help you out a little bit more. That's your first instinct. But this is tried and true success over here. So don't be afraid to jump in and use that as needed. And again, getting on some of these chat GPTs and so forth can get you in trouble. I want you to be writing your code. So I know people say, but that helps you write code that's better than a person can write code. Well, a person still needs to be able to write code to get to that point. Discussion board. You'll see the topics. As we cover a topic, sometimes the group does, we've done this before. Okay, in 161, when you finish an in-class breakout room activity, go and post it. If you're working on a group project and you need to share resources, go stick it on a discussion board. Same as before. Dropbox. Here's going to be, actually, let me get back out of here once. I want to do, come on, here we go. I can go in and change this to student view. So it'll be more of what you see. Dropbox. Right now, you see the first one. It's not going to become available until next Sunday. There's some odds and end things I need you to get up to speed on, but yeah, here's classes, and we're going to talk about that a little bit coming up. Dropbox is where all of your assignments are going to be. And for the final exam, there's going to be a link for you to upload work that is easier to do by hand and take a picture of and upload it rather than try to do it on the computer. So Dropbox is still Dropbox. Quizzes, here's your 3 tests. You see the dates. Wednesday the 25th, Wednesday, March 25th, and Monday, April 27th. That's now week 15 of class instead of finals week, which I don't know. Grade book. Here's your grade book. Lots of stuff in there. Like I said, we don't have quizzes and all those other things to make your grades. You're here to program.
What does big O mean?
Big O is something called Big O notation. And it's actually going to be a group project. You're going to be working with 2 or 3 other students. It's an out of class project. Big O. So if I write a program one line after another, and it's n number of lines, okay, I know how long it's going to take. Boom, 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 boom. But what if I have a loop in it? What if I have nested loops in it? So this is going to talk about algorithm efficiency. How efficient is the program you wrote? So we're going to do that as a group, and it's going to give you a whole nother way to look at doing a program. For example, way back when I taught high school, at the end of each line, I had students put n equals n plus 1. So every time a line of code got executed. Now, is your program going to be more efficient if it only needs 100 lines versus somebody that has a loop and something extra in there that runs 1,000 lines? So we're going to be looking at how efficient is your code. I know it's something different, but it's called Big O notation. Last list. Ooh, I just worked in a group with this foreigner guy in a Christmas outfit, and I want to shoot him an email to see if he can send that code to me. Yeah, here it is. I can see who's online. Everybody in green. Henry is not online. Slim is. Corinne is. I'm hoping that they're here now. But if you need to contact somebody in the class, that's how you would do it. Okay. Let me see if they are here. Esther, Slim, are you here? No, Slim?
Slim is muted.
Okay. I wanted to make sure Slim didn't turn on his computer and just walk away. Slim, 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 Slim. I'm going to have to get after. Okay. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about is IDEs. We did this in 161. Once again, you have your choice of bloodshed or VS Code or something in C++ that I can get the files from you and execute them. Okay. The bloodshed is not supported for some things anymore. I think they stopped in like 2012 or 2013. But for me, I like bloodshed for a lot of stuff. And let me get to back to Zoom. Zoom. Here we go. Share. And bloodshed is this. It's clean, it's simple. Can you get through this course if you wanted to just use bloodshed? The answer is yes. Can you get through this course using VS Code? Yes. Yes. Okay. So once again, that's going to be up to you which you care to use. Okay. Let's get back up to speed. It's time to play Buzzwords. And I'm going to go back and let's see what we got. I'm going to change my camera to my ever popular dot camera, and boom. If I said to you, okay, C++ was something that we learned, it was much different than Java, but at the same time, there were a lot of similarities. And if I said to you, can you give me things that you remember from C++? And the first thing was the ever dreaded C strings. And that's kind of where the plus plus came in. We have a better opportunity to work with strings than old school C strings. But you may get a job at a company that says, yeah, we still use C. And you're going to go, oh, yeah, I did save my C++ book. I'm going to be able to go back and look some of those functions up. There were lots of functions. If I said name one, wasn't there one that looked like this? Strlen, Stringlen. Yeah. Um, Another thing, just throwing them out here, we did some sorting, and there were three types of sorts. There was the selection. By the way, I'm doing a lot of talking today, folks, and this will only be the pretty much the only time I'm going to do this much. Selection was one of the sorts where I selected a value and moved it to where I wanted to. Another one was the
Double sword?
well, we had generic names. Bubble sort was a type of exchange sort.
We also had your sort.
Yeah, and again, that was an exchange sort where we were doing a lot of swap'ems. Here we picked a value and moved it at the end. Here we were swapping them. And then there was the third one we didn't get into, but in this course, it's not going away. We're going to look at more selection sorts, but we can't do that until we learn new data types. And that thing is really going to happen in 2 weeks when we start with lists. So we're going to be working quite a bit on that. This was a biggie. I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk and mention pointers. Pointers was chapter 9. Oh, we did all kinds of stuff with pointers. And I have information on your videos that you're watching for next week for the chapter 14. We start out with pointers. And it gets briefly talked about. But remember, we used the ampersand. The ampersand was big for getting the addresses. And that, this was big for getting the address. We had the asterisk. We used that to declare a pointer. And then we had an asterisk that did something called dereference. And we put that in front of something. We put that in front of a pointer so we could assign a value because the pointer name held the address. But when we did something like asterisk num pointer, we could go to that address and assign a value like 100. The pointers are really, really, really big in this course. Really big. We did work with files. We're going to do more work with files. I don't remember if we did the one where it was the 26 classes down and 2 to go or something, reading in files a whole bunch of different ways. We touched on recursion, and about halfway through this class, you're going to see recursion and go, oh, hey, that's kind of slick how we used recursion. Uh, Another huge thing was a struct. And a struct was actually us creating a data type. It was unique. It was different than all of my primitive data types like int and double and all of those. We created this. Now, what we're going to do is create data types and say, oh, it can hold an integer and a double, but then we're going to write all of the functions to go with it. And just, yeah, it's going to be like building a class. And that's why we're going to start out with classes. There was one thing we looked at called enum. That was an enumerated data type. Yeah. We got into vectors. Yeah, vectors were, give me a word, versus arrays, versus an array. Both were ways to store information. A
Uh,
vector, go ahead, Aster.
I was gonna say an array you like declare the bounds of it.
Yes,
Vectors you could add on.
right. And that's where
They're
arrays
dynamic.
come in to be something called static, and vectors, yeah, like you said, are dynamic. Good. We're going to do a lot of work with dynamic data types. We're not going to use vectors though, but we're going to use a lot. And then we're going to compare how, if I wrote it, oh man, if I wrote it versus dynamic versus static, and oh my God, I keep trying to, I just want to, yeah, we're going to get more and more and more as we go. I get excited. I want to try to teach it all in a day, but I can't. The dynamic type that we're going to work with are called linked lists. Linked lists. We did a little more work with multi-dimensional arrays in C++. And one of the things was that second parameter needed a value, like square bracket blank, square bracket 3. We had to remember to include something like that. And the last thing we did, and hopefully a lot of you got good at, was writing an algorithm. And we only did this a little bit in the beginning of the course, in which the program then could be done either in Java, which I think that was like just the first three, or in C++. Now, what's going to happen in this course? We're going to use that concept of writing an algorithm, but we're going to be doing two things. One is you're going to hear me saying this over and over and over. Start with test data. We did this a little in 161, where if I can take test data and do it by hand, that's going to help me write the code. It's just going to help me write the code because I need to understand the problem first. And the second thing, you're going to hear me say this a million times, draw the picture first. And you're going to be like, what the heck's that mean? Drawing a picture? Yeah. Of an airplane? No. A tree in a forest? No. No, none of those. But you're going to hear me say, draw the picture first. Cool? Okay. Going back a little bit in time, back in time, back in time. I'm going to go to a little bit of class review. Class review is going to be this UML chart. And oh boy, we're going to be doing a lot with this. So oh boy. Let's go back to that class in 161. The one that we learned, our bread and butter was the ever popular what class? Starts with an R. Not a square, but a
Rectangle.
rectangle. Yep. And a UML chart would start with putting the name of the class up top. Chinka, 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 chinka. What was the second thing that we had in the UML chart? Fields, variables, whatever you want to call them. What did I need for rectangle? What were the two things needed? What do we need to know about rectangle? I can tell you anything else in the world about a rectangle if I know it's what? Esther, you're the only one
Oh,
entertaining me today. Daniel, you know
dimension.
the answer, but you won't tell me.
Like the dimensions
Yeah,
and
yeah, you need to know the length. the width. What about area? Would area be a field? Daniel, you have to talk to me now. Would area be a field? Yes or no? No. No. If area is a field, that's possibly one that could be stale data. Length could be 2, width could be 2, which means area would be 4. And that had to be calculated. But what if length is changed to 5 and we forget to recalculate area? Anybody remember that term that went with it? That would have created stale data. All right. Length, width. We wanted to make them both private. And their data types, we should probably make them both double. What's after fields? What would be next? Anybody remember? This is a participation sport, folks. Yeah, kind of remember I had the name of the class plus rectangle. My first constructor with empty parentheses was the default. I could have overloaded it with a second constructor, which may just bring in one value, which I would assign that to both length and width. Or I could have had another overloaded constructor, and I could have had a double. First one goes to length, a double, second one goes to width. Sounding familiar? Yeah, buddy. This is all from 121. Then what did we have? We had things like get length. Nothing was coming in, but a double was being returned. Get width, in case I ever want to know what the value is of these. These were called accessor functions. And then I had the sets. This time set length, I was passing a double in and nothing was coming out. I was setting the width. Nothing was coming out. These were my mutator methods. Well, and they're going to call a function now. My accessor and my mutators. Taters, I like taters. Then we would have had something like calc area. Nothing's coming in because what I need is already in here, the length and the width, but I would be returning a double. Remember our return types out here on the end. We have value returning and void returning. The plus means these are public and the minuses. So I had worker functions. And then I had one more in Java that was huge. And that was my toString. And that returned a string. So if I was knocking off Rust from that course, pew, pew, pew. Questions? 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 Are there any questions? Okay. Da, da, da. Let's see what I have next. I took care of that. I took care of that. Next class, we're going to write something. Here we go. Okay. So if I said, oh, we're going to grab the PowerPoint from 13 and from 121 and 161, you should have a bunch of information and we can go through this. We've written programs that are procedural, one line right after another. Then we wrote object-oriented programs. That's from 121. So this chapter can go pretty quick. We're combining our two previous courses. We have a class, we have an object, we instantiated an object. Yeah. Listen, you remember a lot of this stuff. Austin, can you nod? Yes, you remember? No, you don't remember. Yes. Okay. Are you happy, Austin? Yes. Are you happy if you don't have to talk in this course? Yep. We're gonna get everybody moved. Data hiding. We're hiding data in our class. We're hiding length and width, things that are private. Public interface, that's all of those pluses we put in the UML chart. So introduction to classes, we got the boom. There it is. All of that stuff was nice, good, happy, and we know it. Okay. Private versus public. We're going to learn about a new one called protected. Protected. There, everything's written out. We just did that. What does const do? So when I get width, I'm returning a value. I'm returning a double. Const is thrown in on there just to protect and say, don't mess anything up. No values are allowed to be changed. We have to keep them constant. Okay, just moving right along. Again, the functions, get width, get length, get area. I like calc area because we're doing some calculations. A little bit different when I write this because in my header, I have that class name along with this SRO, the scope resolution operator, that double colon. So slight different from what you had in 121. Accessors, mutators, just covered them. We had covered them before. Here we go. Rectangle R. I'm instantiating an object called R. I take R and what method from the class I want to use with it. Good. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Oh, geez. This is my class. There's my privates. Here are my, oh, what's going on in lines 12 through 16 from C plus? Go ahead.
It's setting the width and the length. Or well, calling a function to set the width and the length.
Or are
Wait,
these
no. Wait,
just,
no. I'm incorrect. No.
you know it,
Uh,
somebody's going to give you that word. What was that
there is a
word?
word.
What
Like
is that?
there's like a functions
Right. And
and you wanna call get and like get width and get
Oh,
length.
yeah, but what we're not,
it's the structure.
now it's, you're getting
No.
close. Remember back in our programs, we listed the name of all of the functions and then wrote the code for them. But what was that called when we put their headings up top? That was called
Prototype.
Design. Yeah.
prototypes. Prototypes. And remember, this is the class. There is no main in a class. Okay, bringing all of that back from maybe a year ago. Okay, and now I start to take a look at some of the functions. Shooby dooby doo. And then, of course, I have a demo program. Now, I don't like this. The demo program comes right after the class defined. We want the class to be standalone so that it can be reused by possibly another function or another demo program. So I don't like it as one. I prefer it to be two. Stale data, we mentioned that already. Um, Pointers, we're going to get way up to speed on pointers. But here's a quick. I needed to define a pointer. It's going to point to a rectangle object. Our pointer gets the address of an object. Okay. Our pointer, yeah, so some of this is Nice job spelling length. I don't think that's correct. Yeah. Okay. All right. Going down. Why have private members? We already know that. Now, we're going to learn something new, and that's creating something called a spec file and an implementation file. But I'm going to stop here for right now. I'm going to share, go back to where is our class? Here, and course home. What I want you to do is load up 13.1 right now. So go get your whatever you're using, load up 13.1. Let's take a look at it. Do, 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 do. Go back to Zoom. Zoom. There we go. Share. And should look something like this. Okay. So I'm giving you a C++ class. Again, it's a combination of what we've already done in Java way back when, but using the C language. And here's what we had just looked at. So you can get it up and get it running and so forth. All good? I'll give you another couple seconds to go back or to make sure you have it up and running. Then I want you to upload this SPC 13.3. La, la, la. Okay. When did I share it or not? It is not shared. My mistake. 13.3 looks something like this. If you wanted to practice, here is a class. It's called car class. And fields are missing. Okay. The constructors are missing. But when I get down in here and I start, so this whole part is missing. The constructors, the functions. But if I had a main that looks like this, I could possibly go and write, let's see, line 47. I would need a what to make 47 work?
A year.
Yeah, well, I need a constructor. Okay. I need a constructor with int and a string. So it looks like I have two fields. So I'm sort of working backwards in this example. So I would need two fields like year and car name type of deal. I would need one constructor that has two arguments, an integer and a string. Oh, it looks like I would need a function called get speed, whatever that does. Looks like I need a function called accelerate. Looks like I need a function called get speed. So if you wanted to play around, you could take this 13.3 and go from there. Okay, stop sharing. I want to go back. I want to clean up what's in here. File close, and file close. So that is now empty. I'm back to Zoom. I'm going back in time. I'm going back to here. And this is where we left off in the PowerPoint. 13.4 rectangle.cpp and rectangle.h. Now, I'm going to do this. It's easier in VS Code, but I'm going to do this in Bloodshed. So I'm going to download all three, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I'm now going to share Dev C++. If you are working in Bloodshed, what you're going to need to do with those 3 files, and so we're doing the end and then we're going to back it up a little bit. So I'm going to have to come into Bloodshed and do new project. You all don't have to do new project if you're not using Bloodshed. Just load them up in VS Code. I need an empty project. Luckily, this is being recorded if you have to go back. I'm just going to let it be project 1, and I'm going to save it in downloads where those other 3 files are. Going to go to project, right click, add to project, and in download, I'm going to find that 13.4 rectangle.c and rectangle.c or .h.cpp. And I'm going to open all 3 of those. Get rid of that. Okay. So we have had a class called rectangle. We're now going to learn how to split that up into 2 classes for things we're going to do down the road. This first one, the .h, is called the specification file or the spec file. This one is you doing a layout of what is going to be needed for the class. You notice it's called spec file, line number 1, specification file. In it, I have lines 2, 3, and 20 that I have to put in. Don't worry about right now. It's making sure we can define the specification file. Do you notice what's in it? The class name, followed by the fields and the prototypes. So this is me getting everything organized. Now, could I type a block of one of these functions in here? Yes, you could. It's called inline. That's back to what we were doing, but I need to try to teach you to get it the other way. So the spec file lists all of this. Rectangle.cpp, part 2. This is the implementation file. And if I take a look, line number 2, include rectangle.h. I need to link the 2 together. There's some other information here. Preprocessor directive iOS stream and the C standard library. Now, the only thing that is in this implementation file are the actual functions. Some of them don't have much. That's why we mentioned you could do them in line. But I need you to be able to take a class and write it in 2 parts, as a spec file and as an implementation file. And then, of course, 13.4, bada bing, bada boom, that's my demo. Line number 6 is include rectangle.h. Rectangle.h knows right away, oh, I'm using rectangle.cpp as well, and run the program. So we're taking our class and we're splitting it up into 2 files. And you can see all of that, right? Questions. And again, for Bloodshed, if this is what you're using, you need to create a project first. VS Code, you shouldn't have to use a project. Were you able to run the demo and get this to run?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. So it is work. And what did you use? VS Code?
No, I used bloodshed.
You use Bloodshed? Okay, good. Somebody with VS Code, were you able to get it to run?
Yeah,
Anybody?
it's good on the
All right. That's what I wanted to hear. Awesome. Sounds good. So now if I come back and I know you keep seeing my hand, if I come into here, separating the specification from the implementation files. And it's in the book. It's in the book. Hopefully you have the book and you use the book. All of you know I write all over my books. So what is, oh, this is what we just talked about. We're breaking it apart into 2 files. inline. So in my specification file, if I wanted to put short bodies of code inside the function and done, I could. Boom, 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 boom. Here's some with inlines. Get width, get length, and get area are inline. Yada, yada, yada. Constructors. We're familiar with constructors. We use that word overloading a couple of times. Here in line 12 is a single constructor. It's the default constructor. There are no parameters. So no arguments are being sent over to be stored in those parameters. Okay. We did look at that implementation file. We looked at the other passing arguments. Now all of a sudden I have a second constructor, rectangle double double, meaning it's overloaded. Overloaded. Good, good, good. Giving them default values if I want. Destructors. Destructors are going to be a way for us to free up memory. So you're going to see it on occasion. That's that tilde, Tilde. I'm pretty sure that's how it's spelled. And we're going to be able to free up memory so that we can use it. Back in the old days, that was really important. And the story I've told before is when we got our first computer lab, we had 12 terminals that didn't have hard drives in them because they just connected right to the server. And the server had 512 kilobytes of memory. 512, you heard me. 512 kilobytes. What's kilo? Kilobyte is how many bytes?
1,000.
Close. What's the real number?
Isn't it 1,024?
Excellent. 1,024. 1,024 is 2 to the what power? Two to the 10th power. Yeah. 256 was a huge number because we did a lot of things like the ASCII chart from 0 to 255. 256 was 2 to the 8th power. And as we remember, 8 bits was 1 byte, BYTE. Does anybody know what 4 bits is called? If 8 bits is a byte, BYT, what's 4 bits? It's called a nibble. Check that out. I know all kind of dumb stuff. Ooh, look at line 4. C string needed for str. Oh, yeah. So we really don't even want to look at this program. Ooh, okay. This is all in the PowerPoint to run over if you wanted to. Overloading constructors. There, I said it several times. It's included in this chapter. Again, it mirrors what you learned with Java. A lot of the languages, they do have a lot comparable. And I'm just skimming over and somebody's going to say, but private, that means it can't be accessed outside. Arrays of objects. We're going up another level. We've done objects, we've done arrays. C++ allow us to do an array of 40 objects called inventory from the inventory item class. And again, we're not just blowing this off. It's stuff that we're going to keep using. The UML chart, beautiful if you have it. Makes it so easy, boom, to write your class. And as we know, our class is now being broken apart into specification file and the implementation file. Okay. I know we still have 20 minutes and I need to talk about, so if I come back here to this home page, Okay, so we covered all of this. Our video for today is going to go up here to day one. There's not going to be a video for more classes because we're not meeting. What you're going to see next week is a week two. Where are you, week two? Course home. I want to go to. All right, give me 1 second, please. Pardon my, I'm still a student. I need to go to a faculty member. And if I go under news, you're going to see that I have a lot of stuff pre-planned, but you're going to be watching the video for chapter 14. This is going to appear tomorrow. I didn't want it to muddy the waters today, but it's going to talk about working with a static member, a static variable, and how that works. It's kind of cool. You're going to look at static functions. Here's the static variable, static member. Here's the static function. So I'm giving you code that I talk about in those videos. It's just going to pop up tomorrow after this class. And you're going to look at friends of classes. That's going to appear tomorrow as well. The other thing is, and we don't have code listings in this class. Code listings would be huge for you to type in. So a lot of times I give you all of the files for the chapter. So you have the code to work with. So you're going to get a zip file of everything from chapter 14. So you'll have all of this as you're watching those videos for chapter 14. Next week, on Monday, it's going to come up with this. It's already pre-programmed. Today we do not have class because of Martin Luther King Day. Your assignment was to watch lectures 1 and 2. Great. I provided the files. Great. Hopefully you're familiar with static members, static functions, friends, and these next two. These are the big two. One is called the copy constructor, and one is called operator overloading. So at the end of that second video, video number 2, you're going to see where I want you to practice trying to do operator overloading on your own. So this is all in lieu of class for next week. All right, does that make sense? Are there questions on that? Okay. Okay. The big thing is you're going to be getting in there and doing some typing with this copy constructor and overloading an operator or 2 or 3. And one of the operators we can overload is the equals. Well, not the equals, the assignment operator, which is a single equal sign. Then to get ready for week 3, here's where I mentioned to you, I'm going to ask you to watch that lecture video 3 on list. So again, I'm just like jumping around. I'm getting a lot of exercise jumping back and forth. Again, coming back into here, back into our class, get up there, course home. You see, here's lectures 1 and 2. That's going to get you through chapter 14. This is a remote blended class. That means we're doing some live and some online. This is online. Then next week, you're going to watch that video to get ready for the 26th, Monday the 26th. Okay. I threw a lot at you. You can always go back and rewatch the video. If you have questions, email them to me. Again, you know how I am from previous courses, so I hope everything's good to go. And we now have 1 week down and 13 to go. But there's a lot of work going to get done between now and then.